Hey guys, it's Justin from Team 53. I'm here with kind of a different iRacing tips and tutorials video than what we normally do. So, I've been watching a lot of guys, whether it's guys asking for help on Discord, hopping in a TikTok live, or things of that nature. And one thing that I see a lot of is that screens are incredibly cluttered. A lot of guys think that they got to have the latest and greatest overlays with everything that's, available to them with all the information that they can. And then what happens is they show up and their screen is just covered in overlays. So when you go sit in their car, when you're looking in their car, you see nothing but overlays all across the bottom, all across the top. They've got their little telemetry thing right here in the middle of the screen. And all it really does, in my opinion, is kind of screw them up. So I am, for those of you who don't know, I'm probably about like a 12-year veteran of iRacing, I would call myself. I have a 7,500 iRating. I race in the Sarah Super Series, which is regarded as the Coke series of short track side. It's a league since we don't have a professional short track series. But it's one of those things where, like, when I look at the screens of myself, some of my competitors, and things of that nature, we really don't have a lot going on. And for me, this is actually a lot down here. This black box you can flip over. Typically, I'll have it on relative when I'm in a race mode or when I'm in like a single car practice. And then what I use, and I used to use sim racing apps until now they're no longer supported. So now I use something called iOverlay. They have a free version and they have a paid version. The only things that I utilize from here is going to be the standings, and I actually have that up on my fourth monitor, way up out of the way. And basically, all that's going to tell me is car number, somebody's license, so if they're A class, B class, C class, whatever that might be, their I rating, which is really nice to kind of know, like, okay, this guy I probably need to leave a little bit more room for. This guy's really fast, that type of thing. It shows me their fastest lap in the race and then their last lap. As well as how many laps since they last pitted, which is a little bit less of an importance on the short track side, probably a little more important on the eNASCAR side or even on the road course side for you guys. But my point is, sometimes less is more. So I have the standings that's up on my fourth monitor, way up out of the way. It's not really something that I feel like you necessarily need to run all the time, but it's there. And then I utilize the track map, and I have that on my side monitor here on my third, kind of on the lower right hand side. The only time that I'll really ever look at that track map is when I'm in a race situation and let's say there's a caution. It helps me to know, hey, there's a stopped car at the exit of turn two, right? Just so that way when I'm coming around, I kind of know. It'll show me the pace car, which is super helpful for me to know kind of where we are with that. Let me see if I can, I think it's F6. Yeah. So the track map, I'm going to just move it here for you guys just so you can see it down here. Oop, it's covered up. We'll move it here to the middle. So right here is kind of the track map that they have. I'm just doing some testing here at Concord, and I wanted to quick flip this on. But it's really nice just because like it'll just show you the track layout. So if you're a road course guy and you're not really sure where the corners are or where you're at on the track, it'll show you that. If you're consistently getting lapped too, it's nice. I mean, it's not telling you anything that the relative isn't already telling you in terms of like leaders coming up on me, car behind, that type of thing. But it's just a visual indicator. Like I said, I really use it for pace car and then to tell um, when there's like a wreck in a corner or something if it's cleared. So the nice part about it is you can do the free version. You just hit F6 and you can move everything, which is kind of nice. I'll move the standings down just so you guys can see what that looks like. So shows I'm in testing. I've done 13 laps. Gives me my track temp, which is really helpful, especially for a setup builder or somebody in test mode, just to kind of know where you're at. And then it'll show you your fastest lap, your last lap, that kind of thing. Nothing super important that you couldn't live without. But I just see a lot of guys, right, with this stuff. And the other reason that I say this is that, like, the digital dash, right? This dash here, all you have to do is press D on your keyboard when you're in a session. It'll pull up this digital dash, and it'll give you your RPMs, your oil temp, and your water temp. So if you're an eNASCAR guy or you're on a super speedway and you need to be able to see your dash or see when your engine's going to blow, you can kind of see that. And it'll go from green to yellow to red, and it shows all of that with iRacings. I have this reference bar. This is set up, and I've shown you guys how to do this in other videos, but we can go into it here. You just go into your options, you go under option, and you check the display delta bar. I have buttons set up so that I can toggle my different delta bars to be able to help me a little bit. And you guys can see here too my FOV just because I'm in triple monitors and I have everything set up on my sim so that my window net in the super late model and in the late model stock is right where it would normally be in my regular car. So that's something super important to look at. But let's kind of go out here and I'll just kind of show you guys how this works for me. So when I'm racing, I don't like to have a lot of distractions. And the number one thing that I see on a lot of low iRating guys is they think they have to have a ton of information on their dash. And really all that does is create clutter and really messes up their FOV. So you'll notice too, all of my relatives, all of my stuff that I have here, it's really in areas where it's not going to distract from my view or mess up my cars. And I know not everybody has triple monitors, so it makes it a little bit more difficult if you want to have a track map or something. But I can move my track map from my third monitor on the right-hand side over here to down here. And then you'll also notice that my delta bar up here is going, but it's way up out of my line of vision. And I know there's a lot of guys who don't know how to move this, and so that's where the internet comes in. So if you go to your keyboard and you hit Alt K when you're in the sim, what it's going to do is it's going to give you this little blue box around all of your stuff. And you can just click and you can just drag these and move them to where it's most convenient for you for iRacing. So like I've moved my messages up from right here to up here where it's not as in the way, right? And so now all of that stuff is set. So you get everything where you want it. You can do it different for each car that you run. You can just check this box and then it'll have custom placemats. I just use the one. So that'll give you a nice little selection. You hit Alt K, and then everything is moved exactly where you want it. And anytime you want, you can always just go in, hit Alt K. You can move it. You can say, I really want this relative to be a little bit higher, or I need to move it over here to the right-hand side. Whatever it might be, you've got that all ready to go. And you can just kind of drag and drop that. So hopefully this video helps you guys. I know a lot of guys have asked me through DMs like what FOV I use, what settings I have. All of that is just so driver dependent and dependent upon your setup and your situation. But hopefully, like I said, kind of declutter your iRacing experience, and I think you guys will have a lot better success. And it's certainly something that we've done with some of the drivers that we've worked with Team 53. Is I'll hop in on a screen share and we'll see that their screen is just covered in information. Sometimes they'll have fuel calculators for 3 different ways to Sunday, and you really don't need those things. Um, Especially like somebody like me on the short track side, fuel really should never come into play other than maybe in a league race or something like that, but you should be able to just hop in and go and know that you're good. So best of luck to you guys on iRacing. If you need any other tips or tricks or you have questions, feel free to send me a DM. All the links are in the description of this video to get in contact with me. You can always leave a comment. I try and be pretty good about replying to those as well. And thanks, and we'll see you guys in the next video.